medium-sized door, and it is very small, small for a reason. Also, the ceilings are pretty high in here. This skylight is originally called the Eye of God. This is how the light's coming in. It's shaped in a circle. It's supposed to be reminding the inmates of why they're here. So do you guys think this cell is large in size?
No.
No? Well, compared to modern day facilities, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
You can fit a modern day cell in here, and they're sharing that with another inmate. But keep in mind, in solitary confinement, inmates aren't leaving the confines of this cell, so of course it is relatively small. Now, as solitary confinement starts to break down, inmates start doubling up in these cells. At the height of the population during Prohibition, there are sometimes 4 or 5 inmates sharing this cell. So then, obviously, it's going to be cramped, right? So I'm going to step outside. If you guys want to take pictures or whatever, that's fine. I'll meet you out there. ones that were opened up. That's when they were summoning John Hamlin and saying, listen, we're overcrowded, you need to make some adjustments. These are the remaining 4 cell blocks. They're completed by 1836. You'll notice they're longer in size to hold more inmates, and they're double-storied. But this double-storied cell block causes a couple problems. The first one, surveillance is compromised. It's hard to see what's going on up on that second level. Also, there are no exercise yards on that second level. So inmates are going outside in small groups to exercise. Again, you can see how solitary confinement is falling apart. One last thing I want you to notice, you see all of this open space between the cell blocks? This all would have been grassland, just kind of kept there, well maintained, just a lot of open space. Let's look at this picture right behind me. This is a picture of the prison in 1954. First, you can see the city is already right outside the walls. This is an elementary school. Now, besides that, when you take a look at the prison, do you see any open space around in there? No, all you see are buildings. Right here's that central surveillance hub. And Eastern State was forced to build cell blocks in any area possible because of overcrowding. And believe it or not, at the time this picture is taken, one more cell block is going to be crammed into these walls. So they have to become very creative with their space. So what we're going to be doing now is heading down to our most famous inmate cell. You guys want to guess who? Al Capone. We're going to go take a look at his cell. It's a great time to talk about how life is different in this convict area. Talk about these mirrors for a minute. When Eastern State's dealing with this issue of overcrowding, when they build on new cell blocks, they still don't have video surveillance. So what they do, they add on cell blocks 8 and 9 and they install these mirrors. These mirrors move and can be angled so that if you're standing in center, you can still monitor the whole prison and see what is going on down these cell blocks. So even though overcrowding was happening, they were still trying to stick with this surveillance system. Now right around the corner is Al Capone's cell, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. Here, I'll light the way. So this is Mr. Al Capone's cell. Al Capone came to Eastern State for 8 months in 1929 to 1930. When he came here, he lived a pretty luxurious lifestyle. As you can see, it looks a lot different than the cell you guys were just in. So, for those of you who may not know, Al dark cells. The cell would be painted completely black, the skylight painted over, and inmates would be put in there for punishment purposes. They also had a very unique form of punishment during the congregate era. It was practiced only here at Eastern State, and it's what we call a bear cell. And this is where inmates would be placed inside of the cell with a small grizzly bear for several days and forced to defend themselves. It's very gruesome, and they reserved it only. No, I'm just kidding. Oh. No. But they did have a lot of work into it to set it up. That was good. I'm glad you appreciate it.
I should go behind you. You got to duck the whole time, but we got to duck too. Oh, Mike. You ready? Are you ready? Be careful. There's a lot of pipes.
Like this for those inmates while they were down here. And yes, this piping was here. This is a maintenance tunnel. This is where the stuff was located. Some of these are steam heating pipes. So if inmates were down here in the winter, it certainly could get pretty hot. Now Eastern State says that they never turned these steam heating pipes up to extreme temperatures, but that was common practice in other prisons. These were called oven cells, where the steam heating pipes were turned up to 97 degrees and inmates had to sit there for long periods of time. Eastern State said that never happened, but it's certainly a coincidence that these cells are located down here. So just to give everyone a quick idea, I'd like us all to turn off our flashlights.
Fast. You can stand up straight.
Yeah.
Jim, you can stand up straight.
I'm assuming that those are all like original protocols.
Oh, original 1971.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, this ceiling is way low.
Why, are you looking for a toilet bowl?
Yeah, I'm in the market for toilet bowl, yeah.
You're in the market for a shitter.
Yeah. No, I just think it's crazy how
It
they.
is, I know. Yeah. I had a guy on my other person who really had cell block 15. It opened in 1959. Each of these are individual cells. A toilet and sink are put together, very typical of a modern day facility. Also, you can see here this big gate. This would have gone all the way down the floor. There was one, you guys would have been the inmates, you had your own corridor.